with several assignments. So what is matter? Matter is anything that has mass. A pure substance is a specific material or type of matter that has a uniform composition or a specific formula. For example, H2O is water. There are three main states of matter, and those are determined by the distance between the molecules and the movement of those molecules. And when you talk about the movement, you are talking about the energy of those particles. When you look at the three main ones, solid, liquid, gas, solid has the lowest energy. You know, they're moving the least amount here. And they have a regular repeating structure. They have a definite volume and a definite shape. And then liquids, a little higher energy. They do not have a regular repeating structure. The particles are a little further apart, so they can move a little more. They have a definite volume, but no shape. And then gas, the particles are really far apart, so they can move the most. And they have no definite volume and no definite shape. So when we look at these, the energy increases as you go from solid to liquid to gas. There are two other states of matter that we talk about, and on this chart, one would be here, and that's Bose, Einstein, condensate. And that's anything that is close to absolute zero, so that's ultra cold, and those particles would be barely moving, so that's the lowest energy state of matter. And on this end of the spectrum, we would have plasma. And a plasma would be the highest energy state of matter. That's particles that are moving so fast that they've collided and actually broken into pieces of atoms. So to make a substance change state, all you would have to do is change the position of those particles. So change their energy. How do you do that? You add or remove heat, or you could even change their pressure. Now remember that heat or temperature is a measure of kinetic energy. So if I take a gas and slow those particles down, I can make them get closer together and start clumping together, and then that would condense the gas into a liquid. Conversely, if I have a solid and I increase the energy of those particles, I can make them lose that regular repeating structure and spread out, and then they will melt and become a liquid. If I take that gas and I increase the pressure on it, it does the same thing here. It will cause the particles to come together and go and condense, so they would go from gas to a liquid. When we talk about matter, we want to categorize the matter or put it into different categories, such as physical properties, chemical properties, physical changes, and chemical changes. Physical properties are characteristics that can be observed or measured. They describe the substance, such as the density. Density is grams per milliliter. Melting point, boiling point, color, odor, malleability, ductility. And then we can also take those physical properties and further categorize them into extensive properties, which depend on the amount. And so the value is going to change when you change the amount. For example, I have 100 grams of gold or 100 milliliters of water. If I change that amount, if I have 200, then that shows you that that would be an extensive property because it depends on the amount. The other one is intensive properties. They do not depend on the amount. The value will stay the same regardless of the amount. It would depend more on the type of substance. And this would be melting point, freezing point, boiling point, the density, or the solubility. And then another category we can use to classify matter would be the physical changes. In a physical change, the chemical composition does not change. So if you tear paper, it's still paper, it's just smaller. If you melt ice, it's still water, H2O, it's just in a different state. Or boil water, go from liquid to gas, it's still H2O. Then chemical properties. Physical properties describe the appearance. Chemical properties describe how a substance reacts with other substances. For instance, sodium reacts with water to produce hydrogen gas. The noble gases are non-reactive. That tells how they don't react, which is also part of these chemical properties. And then lastly, a chemical change. A substance changes into one or more new substances with all different properties. Every time you have a chemical change, such as you add that sodium to water, you're going to get new substances with all new properties. So you get hydrogen gas, which is different than water and has all different properties than water. Hydrogen is explosive, water is not. So, clues of a chemical change. The one you always get every single time is a new substance formed. You can have a gas given off or energy exchanged. So in other words, energy can be given off or absorbed. Color change and or a precipitate formed. You might have one or more of these.